Friends, I asked over 1,600 viewers where they wanted Coco to go inside of DCA, and this is what they told me. And I specifically asked not where you think it will go, but where you want it to go. Big difference on what fans want and what they believe Disney will probably do these days. Let's explore the 4 locations that you voted on, and I'll break down the pluses and minuses to each of these locations, as well as breaking down what modern day Disney boat ride would fit in that exact spot. Now, part of the theme of today's videos, we are ignoring a little project by the name of Disneyland Forward, just like it was conveniently ignored at Disney's Horizons announcements at D23. Today's challenge, and what I asked viewers of this channel was to do, was to imagine where Coco could go inside the existing footprint of Disney's California Adventure. And originally I thought that when Coco got announced after Avatar, that this did mean that one of these two were a part of Disneyland Forward, because in my mind, I don't know that both of these fit inside the current footprint of DCA, therefore meaning that one of these projects could possibly be a Disneyland Forward project. But before we get into breaking down, expanding the park, let's break down where Coco could fit inside of DCA as voted by the viewers of this channel. With all of that out of the way, let me say, Bricky here, showing you the top 4 locations that you voted on where you want Coco to go inside of DCA. It's a video that you helped create, and I appreciate that. Let's go to number 4, your least favorite pick. And oh, did you hate this one? Number 4 on our list of 4, your least favorite idea, only getting 4% of the vote, converting the Hyperion Theater over to the Coco boat ride. You guys hated this idea. 4% of you is like 64 people out of 1,600. Very, very unpopular idea. And you know what? As I break down the pros and cons, I'm pretty sure I'm not a huge fan of it as well. Let's break down the size that we're working with, what would fit here, but first, what's good about it and what's bad about it. What we have to work with in this location is 70,000 square feet. And that means using all of it. The Hyperion Theater, as well as the courtyard that I'm standing in right now. So, gonna have to find a new place for trick-or-treaters come every October. I mean August, because Halloween starts in August now. First things first, let's break down the good of your least favorite pick. One good thing that maybe only bothers me would be that putting a new attraction here would replace one of the worst sightlines in all of DCA. I absolutely despise the lack of theming on the side of the Hyperion Theater. Like, come on, you can't put a faux cityscape that hides all the stairs behind me, and when you walk up and down the stairs, you can like look out a portal and see one of the best views of Avengers Campus. I'd give anything for filming this video to be able to walk up on those stairs right now. But this over here is hideous, and if something new were to come here, that would go away. At this location also works into a perfect thing that we've been talking about on the vlog, basically post D23, the whole notion of if you're not going to use it, just get rid of it. That was my unpopular take about Rivers of America out at Walt Disney World, and that will also be my unpopular take about the Hyperion Theater. Let's start putting some performance and entertainment and culture back into the park, or let's not kid ourselves and just get rid of this footprint and put something here that you'll actually use. A family boat ride themed around Coco, that's something that would get used all day long, every day, except for when it breaks down. I'm already predicting this ride's gonna break down. So getting rid of a dead space in the park, a potential dead space in the park. I mean, what happened? Rogers the Musical was awesome. More of that, please. But if none of that's gonna come, then let's just stop kidding ourselves. Let's stop the charade of the fake facade, and let's put something here that guests get to use instead of a big, beautiful box that nobody gets to go inside of. That sounded so wrong. So before we talk about what could potentially go here, let's break down the bad parts of this. It would be a very, very tight fit. You would get an attraction and attraction only. there would be no room for a Coco neighborhood, which is a big part of what I want to happen when this attraction comes to DCA. I don't want this just to be a ride. I want this to be a destination. I want vibes. I want something that I can cruise through and walk around every time I come to the park, because I'm not going to ride the ride every time I come to the park. I already know that the line's crazy. And strangely, I do feel like this could really clash with its neighbor being Avengers Campus, because I can clearly hear that background music loop right where I'm standing. So, you know, Coco music, Avengers music kind of colliding together. I feel like there could be a better transition, and good news, there is on our countdown today. One of the things I will really hate if this goes away is that the theater creates culture inside of the park. Live performance, live entertainment does make Disneyland and DCA feel so much more like a real little city. I really wish that they would use this for something other than a big giant facade. So the modern Disney boat ride that would fit in this spot, being approximately 65,000 square feet, including its front facade and entryway queue, would be a version of the new Tangled ride that we saw at Disney's Fantasy Springs inside of Japan. So that level of attraction would fit here, but with this plot of land only being 70,000 square feet, it would be extremely tight. But on the good side, the visuals of coming down Hollywood Boulevard and seeing a Coco attraction at the end, it would be a good carrot at the end of what's becoming a pretty sad stick. All right, let's move over from your least favorite spot to number 3 on our list. Still not a popular selection, but one I think has a bit more realistic approach to it than the spot behind me. Ah yes, me performing one of my favorite hobbies. Always predicting the death and the demise of the Hollywood Backlot, my least favorite part of DCA. And according to you, this was your second least popular place to put a Coco ride. And it was least popular by a stretch. In fact, only 11% of you like this idea, roughly 175 folks, making this idea not a popular one at all. But I do see a potential here. Let's break it down. And that's one of the problems. Spoiler. So if we stay on the back side of the monorail and use both buildings, we have a total combination of 60,000 square feet to put a Coco family boat ride back in this area. And that does not include going into where the buses are. We're not including Disneyland Forward inside of today's challenge. And just to give you an idea of how much bigger a boat ride is, the footprint for Monsters Inc. alone is roughly 37,000 square feet. So you need at least, 20,000 more square feet to get into boat ride territory. However, what I believe is the most promising is that if you took over the entire Hollywood Backlot, it gives you a humongous footprint of over 165,000 square feet, which I think gives us the best play for having a Coco neighborhood inside of DCA. Because if the ride set on the back side of where the monorail goes and the entire courtyard was turned into a neighborhood, a street fair with Mexican restaurants, shops, repositioned around here, a big beautiful water fountain in the center esplanade, I believe that this could be an absolutely amazing addition to DCA when DCA finally has what the Disneyland Resort needs, a Latino land. And I feel like the 360 scape here, entry points off of Hollywood Boulevard, would give you an amazing courtyard of cultural experience. I feel like this could be absolutely fantastic. But as always, there's a big but on the horizon. This area would also work really well with all the different street food fairs that they do, all the different, food festivals. You could have all kinds of Latino foods being served inside of this area, which just happens to be my absolute favorite food in the entire world. And converting this into something that people actually care about would give great purpose to coming into the park, working your way down Hollywood Boulevard, and then going through one of the 2 access points and just going into a complete transformation of a lively, vibrant street fair. This could be awesome. Now it's time for the but. The monorail creates a massive problem. And if we keep the boat ride on the other side of the monorail, it makes for the smallest boat ride on today's list. And one that's not even one of the more modern boat rides that we'll be looking at today. And then there's the other factor. This plot of land, the Hollywood Backlot, is the last big play for a truly transformative experience inside of the current DCA footprint. Is this what you want to spend it on? Or do many folks not want Coco to go here because they have their heart set on Avatar going here? Because this does feel like the only plot of land that is big enough to do the ambitious plans that they have for creating a version of Pandora inside of Disney's California Adventure. Meaning whatever expansion you put in this footprint, you better choose wisely because it's your last big play on the chessboard. Meaning that the boat ride that would fit on the back side of the monorail tracks and not going into the bus courtyard would be something very similar to what we see at the Mexico Pavilion inside of Epcot. So then it comes down to the question, yeah, the street fair would fit here really well, but is this the level of an attraction that guests would want? And is this really what you want to do with your last big play on the chessboard? It's a hard decision to make. It's hard for me to make, and it cost me $0. Let's exit the two ideas that you guys just absolutely hated, and let's move up to the top two ideas, which it seems like most of you are really on the same page for where you want Coco to go inside of DCA, like overwhelmingly on the same page. And speaking of overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed by the results of this poll. Thank you so much for being a subscriber and following along, and thank you so much for voting. I feel like this is a really great way to create content, not necessarily based on what I want, but showing you guys and breaking down what you want in a way that hopefully sways you to either love it twice as much or go, I don't know if that's a good idea. I always love the debate that we create on this channel, and as the community is growing and growing quite quickly, I love that this is becoming a place where intelligent fans talk about the things that they want to see happen in the Disney parks. Man, what a fun thing to daydream and talk about. What a great place for escapism. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy you're going on this journey with me, Hey Bricky. Your second pick coming in at 36% of the vote, which is over 500 of you, Paradise Gardens. But I think this could possibly be the most challenging location that was in today's vote. This entire plot of land is 65,000 square feet. That is the minimum that we need to get a boat ride in. And for those that say, oh, it'll just replace Goofy's Flight School, bro, how small of a boat ride do you want? Goofy's Flight School is shockingly small and shockingly efficient. Goofy's Flight School is only 20,000 square feet, so you're not gonna put much of a boat ride there other than those little ducks that come by and you pull it up and go, oh yeah, I'm a winner. So it's 65,000 square feet. Let's break down what could go here. But first, let's break down the good and the bad. On the upside, this is a very odd part of the park. And I'm purposely only talking about the Paradise Gardens area, but we'll talk about what lays outside of this perimeter as well when we get to our complete breakdown. But it's an odd place in the park that has found a home for Latino celebrations when we do different cultural events all throughout the year. And it also becomes home to Lunar New Year's main events at the start of the year. So it has become a cultural corner of DCA. Coco attraction sitting at the back end of the performance corridor when coming into the park. It would create purpose to this back corner, and it would also create an amazing sightline, drawing you in as you work your way further and further into the park, where your big reveal, your big reward would be a Coco family boat ride. That part sounds pretty awesome. You know there's a but coming. But, and it's a big but, this footprint gives no room for neighborhood whatsoever. I mean, it's a tight fit for an attraction only. Therefore, we would be giving up a lot for a single boat ride. It would be the major removal of one of the largest shaded seating areas inside of DCA, 2 restaurants, a restroom, which good news, that means there's running water here for a boat ride, and as well as Goofy's Flight School. And if we were to just rearrange the entire footprint, take out the carnival rides on the edge of the water, then you're losing 3 more attractions. And if we were to remove everything over on the edge of the water, now we have made a very hard time for the parade to work through here, because this is on the performance corridor. The main exit and entry spot for the parade is just beyond us. So therefore, if all of this got blown out, we did a nice walkway along the water, it would get kind of tight in there. And let's not forget, we would lose my favorite Christmas street fair. When big paper mache Santa and Mrs. Santa come down the street here, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. One of those moments where somehow they get Disney magic inside of my eye. So out of everything we're looking at today, this plot of land would be the biggest addition by way of subtraction, giving up a potential 4 attractions, 2 restaurants, the best shaded seating area, but don't worry, some things are sacred. Just try and touch my castle. Try and touch my castle, Disney, and I'll come right after you. So what kind of modern boat ride would fit into this area? It would be the Na'vi Journey from Disney's Animal Kingdom. That is the size of the type of dark ride that we can anticipate on the back end of the Pixar Pier Paradise Gardens area. I don't really ever know exactly the name of where I'm standing when I'm in this horseshoe. And look, I think that a Coco family ride could be absolutely amazing, but I want it to fit into a neighborhood. And I don't see a way where this plot of land gives those neighborhood vibes without completely blowing out the front end of the park and getting rid of a significant amount of attractions. I want that little street fair so bad, but I also want lots of families with little kids to be able to rip a couple of easy rides when they come to DCA, just sort of getting that overall rides per hour divided by what you pay per hour, feeling, like it's on par versus a single attraction that will always have an epically long line. You spend 8 minutes in an area where typically you might spend an hour and also spend a decent amount of money buying drinks and food and getting a little rest in the shade. But I easily see why you picked this spot, because it does feel, and Disney has branded this as the home of Coco inside of DCA. But it's perfect for a Halloween show, a Christmas street fair, or meet and greets. I just don't think this is the spot for a full-fledged attraction because of everything we'd have to give up to make that happen. Now let's move over to your most popular pick and let me show you the graphic of how many of you voted. I was blown away that I got over 1,600 votes. Thank you so much for being a part of the Hey Bricky community. And if you want to have your vote counted on the next video, which will probably be Avatar, make sure you subscribe to Hey Bricky and keep going on this journey with me. Subscribing is the free way to make sure this channel doesn't go away. Shout out to the gardeners that said hey to me while I was filming. Man, the gardeners of Disneyland and DCA have given me a whole new appreciation for landscaping. Friends, I hope you're enjoying today's video, and if you want to enjoy your next visit to the park, letting everybody know your preference, that you're there for the vibes over the rides, make sure you support Hey Bricky by shopping in the link below. Purchasing a beautiful Bricky blouse is a great way to support Hey Bricky and allowing me to keep showing up with 3 quality videos every week. I cannot wait to meet you in the park when I see you wearing your beautiful Bricky blouse. Now back to today's video. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you if you voted. Friends, your #1 vote, and it wasn't even close. 50% of you want Coco to arrive in the location that's directly behind me, keeping all of the Pixar properties contained in one area inside of DCA. At first, I wasn't so sure about this, but I think maybe you might have convinced me. Let's move over to some place that's not quite as loud and break down your votes on Pixar Pier. 50% of you voted that this is where you wanted to go. So by speaking to 1,600 of you at the time of recording, the poll's gone even higher by now. That means roughly 800 people wanted to go over on Pixar Pier. And as I said, at first, I was a little bit like, meh on this, but coming here today, filming in park, I now have a whole new vision of what Coco could look like. over on the pier. So if Imagineering was to blow out everything on the other side of these doors and use everything that's backstage, that would give them roughly a footprint of about 110,000 square feet. However, it's not like Disney doesn't use this space. As we can see from above on Always Mickey's Fun Wheel, to me, there's a lot of backstage operations happening. So if they were only to use this building, it shrinks down to about 35,000 square feet, which is very small. Before we get into what fits in our final destination, let's break down all the pros of Coco going at the Pixar Pier. Obviously, as stated from the top, many of you like the idea of keeping similar properties all contained in one footprint, and you would like to see Coco next to the other Pixar attractions, and I don't think you're wrong. Now, something that's truly unique about this place on the map is it's the only spot that actually expands the theme park. Everywhere else, we're looking at taking things that are already available to guests and converting it over to a new experience. What we've been talking about on this channel, addition by subtraction. But this is the only location that expands the footprint of DCA. You greedy little voters, you. And I guess last but not least, wouldn't it be nice to give this area a bit of purpose? Right now, there are character meet and greets. It's set up a little bit differently for when Sid's here during Oogie Boogie Bash. And then you have the carnival style games next door. I don't think a lot of people come to a very expensive Disney park to play carnival games. So I do feel like what would be lost here, people wouldn't necessarily miss. The only thing that I think might upset some people is Bing Bong, but I feel like some Mexico sweet treats could change a couple of votes. It changed mine. Now this is where I get into what's bad about this location, but my bad points have started to actually change after coming here and filming this morning and envisioning this footprint as Coco and not what it currently is. Because as I've said, I'm very concerned about Coco creating a neighborhood inside of the park. I feel like the Coco attraction has a unique capability to bring Southern California's demographics into a spot in the park where they can truly celebrate. And being selfish, I absolutely love Mexico food. I like going to Mexico because they just call it food there. And so originally my big concern was, do we have to put the neighborhood on the other side of the tunnel? Which could be great. It could be a nighttime Mexico street fair, like what we see at the Mexico Pavilion inside of Epcot, one of my favorite pavilions. However, if the neighborhood goes through the tunnel, you could do the math here, we're simply reducing the amount of footprint that we have left for attraction. And just like all you greedy voters at home, I want as much traction and as much neighborhood as possible. That's where today I had my revelation. Because another item I had on my cons list was that the entryway felt like a disconnection. You're on this bright, colorful Pixar Pier, you go through the doors and whoops, you just landed in Mexico. However, hear me out, this is my revelation from today. What if we get rid of all these bullshit games that nobody cares about? What if we create this entire area as a Mexican neighborhood, a street fair, if you will, where maybe some of these games get swapped out for quick food service. Bing Bong gets transformed over into a place full of Mexican sweet treats and that sweet, sweet Coco merchandise. I'm starting to really see the way where all of these little facades could easily be transformed over and we would have what I've been hoping for, a little Latino land in the back corner of DCA. This would give us all the Coco and Mexico vibes, but it would also give us a bigger footprint for our attraction. But let's get into the problem of what exists beyond these doors. There is a ton of operations that happen back here, and most importantly, this is a big staging area for parades that happen inside of DCA. But I do see a workaround. Hear me out. What if we were able to build the Coco attraction up on a second floor? So the back access road continues to have full access around the outer footprint of DCA. So there is still a parade staging area, although it wouldn't be as tall, and there could still be other buildings that they could use on the ground floor. But you tell me, engineers, rooftop pools is kind of an LA thing, but a rooftop or second floor boat ride, I don't know. But hey, basements. So now that we've done the work on fitting Coco in here, my only last con was the outside area just has very congested footprint already. It's loud. I don't like the sound floor, obviously, while I'm filming over here. And they're playing me some Coco music. But think about the attraction of both a Coco ride for the family as well as a whole marketplace around here. This would make this pinch point even tighter. And that is a valid concern. And my new ideas today make that concern far worse. But let's talk about what fits beyond these doors. The brand new Frozen attraction over at Disney's Fantasy Springs in Tokyo is one of the best dark rides I've seen. And it puts what used to be Maelstrom over in Epcot absolutely to shame. A boat ride of that size is roughly about 100,000 square feet. Luckily for us, we have 110,000 square feet behind these doors. And that footprint for Frozen also is the whole front facade of the attraction as well as the queue. So a huge family-sized boat ride would fit back here, taking people on an epic Coco adventure. And once again, paying tribute to many citizens at Disneyland, which is something that goes back to the origins of Disneyland. Disneyland and Walt Disney have always had a close relationship with our Latino neighbors. There's some amazing photographs if you go back into the Disney archive celebrating Latino heritage inside of Disneyland. So I thought my number one was very, very easy to pick, but I don't know. Pixar Pier, you convinced me. And thanks for voting. Literally Coco right now. So I do believe that that area creates the best opportunity to keep like brands together and to create an exceptional customer experience. You know what else creates an exceptional customer experience? Watching this video right here where I go so far in the weeds breaking down Villain's Land coming to Magic Kingdom. Friends, I found about 120 details hidden inside of this concept artwork. Thank you so much for showing up. I hope you enjoyed this video as well.